Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel that takes you deep inside the San Francisco 49ers. I am your host, Jack Hammer. Today we want to talk to you about something special that's happening with the San Francisco 49ers and why the NFL fears what's to come. You know why? It is Brocktober. That's right, Brocktober. You might be wondering what I'm talking about. You know, depending on the sport, there's always that one player that seems to rise to the occasion at a certain time of the year. You know, back in the 70s when it came to baseball, Reggie Jackson, he was known as Mr. October for his ability to play big in the month of October during the World Series when he was playing for the New York Yankees. Or Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan played huge in the NBA Finals, winning 6 World Championships for the Chicago Bulls. Well, here in San Francisco, we have Brocktober, but it didn't start in San Francisco. Brock Purdy, he has been special in the month of October for years and years and years. Really, for the first time, it jumped onto the national scene in 2018 when he made his first start as a member of the Iowa State Cyclones. That first start coming against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. The Oklahoma State Cowboys, that is, were a really good team back in 2018. Brock Purdy, Iowa State, went into that game at just 1-3. They went in there and they beat Oklahoma State by a score of 48-42 on the road. The following week, Purdy led Iowa State to a 30-14 win over 6th-ranked West Virginia. From that point forward, a tradition took hold. During Purdy's time at Iowa State, he went 12-3 in the month of October. Over the course of his college career, he threw for 3,966 yards, ran for 465 more, while racking up 38 touchdowns, and Iowa State averaged 36.9 points per game. And that's just in the month of October alone, from 2018 to his senior season of 2021. You know, for Purdy, this didn't just start in college. It actually began while he was in high school at Gilbert Perry High School out in Arizona. As a junior and senior, Purdy won 6 of 8 games while putting up big numbers on the stat sheet and the scoreboard. When you combine Purdy's time in high school with that of his time in college, in the month of October, he threw for 6,590 yards, ran for 1,075 yards, scored 74 total touchdowns with only 16 interceptions, and posted an 18-5 record. That's pretty impressive. Out of 23 games, 18-5, and he threw for 6,590 yards, ran for another 1,075. 74 total touchdowns for Brock Purdy in the month of October from the time that he was a junior in high school up till now. In his first October start for the 49ers last week, we saw what he did. One of the best performances of a 49ers quarterback in the history of the franchise. He completed 20 of his 21 attempts for 283 yards and a touchdown. His 95.2 completion percentage, breaking a franchise record that was set by Steve Young back in 1991. Purdy's ability to make October magic is going to be put to the test over these next couple of weeks. Some really tough opponents coming for San Francisco and Brock Purdy. Starting off this week with the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys bringing in a defense that has allowed just 10.3 points per game through the first 4 weeks of the season. And a defense that really gets after the quarterback, especially with Micah Parsons, one of the best pass rushers in the league. The following week, the 49ers are going to have to get on an airplane and travel out to Cleveland to take on the Browns. They might not worry too much about the Browns and that offense, depending on who's playing quarterback, and maybe Deshaun Watson and may not. But you need to definitely worry about that Cleveland Browns defense. You know, they have a great pass rush. They get after the quarterback themselves. And Cleveland's only allowed 15 points per game so far this season. So that's 2 really tough matchups here ahead for the 49ers with Brock Purdy at quarterback. He needs to make sure that he can continue that October magic. And, you know, when you watch Brock Purdy play within the San Francisco system, it just seems to work. And when you look at Brock Purdy when he was back at Iowa State, when his team tended to struggle, it was usually when he felt like he needed to be the guy that went out and made a big play, like he had to carry the team on his back. Well, that's not the case in San Francisco. In San Francisco, he has playmakers all around him. He's got Brandon Ayuk. He's got Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, who just scored 4 touchdowns last week. He's got George Kittle. He's got Kyle Juszczyk, and that's just on the offensive side of the ball. Not to even mention how good this 49ers team is on the defensive side, which allows him to not have to worry about pressing and throwing balls into coverage and doing goofy things. As long as he plays within himself and continues this pattern that he's on, the 49ers should be able to be successful over these next couple of weeks and really throughout this season. This offense right now is performing as good, if not better, than anything we've seen from the 49ers since 1994 when they won their last Super Bowl. I personally would say this is probably the best 49ers offense that we've seen since the 1980s, when that team went to 3 Super Bowls under Bill Walsh, went to another Super Bowl after Walsh retired with George Seifert. Those offenses and how well they perform, that's really kind of what we're seeing now. Playmakers all over the field, a quarterback that knows how to distribute the ball, a defense that shuts down opponents. It's all kind of coming together. And then you have Brock Purdy, who's performed so well. Brock Purdy has thrown the ball 211 times in a row, dating back to last season, since he's thrown an interception. The last one come in against the Las Vegas Raiders on January 1st of last year, late in the regular season. So 211 straight games without an interception for Brock Purdy. Just fantastic stuff. And the 49ers themselves, when they don't turn the ball over more than their opponents, they've won 28 of their last 31 games in which they haven't turned the ball over more than their opponents. That's right, 28-3 in their last 31 games when they don't turn the ball over more than their opponents for the San Francisco 49ers. And you look at it, and it's not just what he's doing on the stat sheet, it's what he does as a leader as well. This guy, when you look at what he did out at Iowa State, this is a guy who went out and really helped to establish and create that program into what it became while he was there. It wasn't a program that was winning very many games. Brock Purdy shows up as a freshman, and next thing you know, he puts them on the map. Now here in San Francisco, he wasn't brought in to be the starter. He was brought in to be a backup, but he got the chance. And Brock Purdy has done nothing other than go out and make the most of the opportunity that was presented to him. And it's caught the eye of his teammates. Trent Williams has said very positive things about him. Pretty much every player within that 49ers locker room, if you ask them what they think of Brock Purdy, what he's doing, they're going to tell you that they believe that he's the real deal. And don't take it just from me. Here's what Christian McCaffrey had to say during a radio interview earlier today on KNBR. When he was asked about Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey said, "That's somebody I couldn't be happier to continue to prove people wrong." Remember, now Brock Purdy had a lot of people doubting what he could do throughout the offseason. So Christian McCaffrey starts off again saying, "That's somebody I couldn't be happier to continue to prove people wrong." He's been unbelievable, not just from a play standpoint, but as a leader. He's got a swagger you want in a quarterback. It's a blast getting to play with him. And that sounds very similar to what we heard last week from Steve Weish, the NFL Network insider, who went on the Rich Eisen show and said that he believes that Brock Purdy is a dark horse candidate to be named the MVP in the NFL this season. Right now, Brock Purdy is trending around 7th in terms of the betting line for him to win the MVP. But still, that's pretty good for a guy who's only made now 9 regular season NFL starts. Winning all of them, obviously, he's 9-0. But again, when you watch Brock Purdy play, and what Steve Weish had to say is Brock Purdy's a guy who the players like playing for, like we just heard from Christian McCaffrey, because he's a killer. He loves to be in those tight situations. He loves that moment when he's got to take the team down the field. He might not have any timeouts, and he's got to drive him down and get a score to win the game, or drive him down the score to finish off the half with some points. And Brock Purdy has done such a good job of that throughout his career. And he likes to be in that situation. He wants to be in that situation, kind of similar to a guy the Flyers had back in the 80s by the name of Joe Montana, So what you're hearing from Steve Weish here and what you hear from Christian McCaffrey sounds very similar to what we heard from the players that played with Joe Montana. Remember, in that Super Bowl 23 come from behind win when he drove the team down the field to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, before that drive started, if you remember, he told Harris Barton, "Hey, Harris, check out the who's in the end zone over there. That's John Candy." Harris Barton turns around and there's John Candy. That's the kind of guy that you see led the 49ers to 4 Super Bowl wins. That is where Brock Purdy is right now. Now, is he going to lead the 49ers to Super Bowl wins? I don't know. I'm not sure. If I had to bet and I had to put some money down, I would say that I think he can, because when you watch Brock Purdy play, he's a special player. He makes plays with his arm, makes plays with his legs, makes plays with his head, and as you've seen here, he's a leader. Huge numbers throughout his time in the time in the month of October, through high school, through college. a record-breaking performance in his first start for the 49ers in the month of October. Let's see how this plays out. But I tell you what, he's been playing well. I think he's going to continue to play well. And as I said to open up the show, the NFL fears what's to come with the San Francisco 49ers team, especially with the way they're put together and especially with the guy who's running that offense in Brock Purdy. So as I said to open up the show, everybody, welcome to Brocktober. Take it for what it's worth. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you guys can do me a favor, please hit that like button. After you hit the like button, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And then last but not least, please also make sure that you turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the updates, because I promise you're not going to want to miss any of the breaking news that comes right here on Inside the Farms with Jack Hammer. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be talking with you soon. Take care, everybody.